Hey there, thanks for tuning in. This Health Writing Wednesday video is dedicated to anyone who is a newbie in the freelance health content writing world. So, if you are someone, a healthcare provider who has been thinking about transitioning into freelance health content writing, if you are someone who has recently begun freelance health content writing and maybe have been writing for less than, let's say, 6 to 9 months, this video is for you. We are going to be talking about generative AI and how tools such as ChatGPT, for example, can be helpful to you in this stage of your journey and how they can be harmful or hurtful to you in this stage of your journey. And the goal of this conversation is to help you identify those ways that use of these types of tools can help or can hold you back so that you can determine how to engage with and incorporate these tools as you continue along your journey. So this is not a super AI promotional video. This is not an AI bashing video. This is a very practical and realistic and balanced look at the ways that AI can be useful at this particular stage and the things that you might want to look out for so that you can ensure that it doesn't hold you back from reaching some of your broader goals. Before we dive into the meat of the conversation, if we haven't met before, my name is Megan. I am a public health pharmacist by training, but my background is in medical writing and health communications. I've been a health content strategist and writer for several years, 7+ years at this point. And I am the founder of Health Professionals Health Writers, which is a 6-month accelerator program that teaches fellow pharmacists and other healthcare providers how to replace a portion of their income through freelance health content writing. And you can always join the waitlist for future Health Professional Sales Writers cohorts by commenting waitlist. So feel free to do that if you are interested in learning more. Before we dive into the three help and hurt examples, or not examples, but perspectives I'm going to share with you, I want to provide some big picture limitations regarding generative AI, such as ChatGPT, because I know that not everyone has explored those tools at the same level. So some of you may be familiar with these already, and some of you might not be. I'll just give a brief rundown. This is not going to be a crash course in AI. There are other resources where you can learn more. Google's Cloud Skills Boost Intro to Generative AI program is really great. It does get a little bit technical, so you are going to get into the weeds a little bit. But if you are like, I just do not understand what this is and how it works, that is a great resource for you. And I'll try to remember to link that in the comments. But again, it's Google Cloud Skills Boost's Introduction to Generative AI course. Big picture though, some limitations that we want to think about that apply across the board. Okay, I guess if I'm going to talk about limitations, technically I could give an overview of the benefits. So big picture overview, generative AI can be a really helpful tool because it has the capacity to not just pull from old information, if you will, but it has the capacity to generate new content based on a lot of data and information it's been trained on. And so when I say new content, I mean it has the capacity to communicate to produce an output, because it's not really communicating like a person would, but to provide information in human language that is pretty similar to the way that a human would communicate. And so that is one of the reasons why AI is such a popular topic in writing circles and other creative circles, because prior to the advent of generative AI tools like Bard, like ChatGPT, it wasn't possible for technologies to produce an output that was this similar to what a human could produce. So that's like a big picture overview of why generative AI is so exciting and trendy right now. And I say trendy, but like it's not going anywhere, which is why I'm even having this conversation, because it's something that we're going to learn to live with more and more over time. Big picture limitations, though, that apply across the board. Specifically, we're thinking about ChatGPT because this is one of the more common and popular tools that people are using right now, especially in writing circles. Limitations include the fact that there is imperfect medical knowledge. So the language models that ChatGPT is trained on come from all types of sources. It comes from all over the internet, all types of books, content, resources. And as we know, there's a lot of information on the internet that is inaccurate, that is false, that is misleading. And that means that you cannot necessarily rely on the output from ChatGPT to be medically accurate. So there's imperfect medical knowledge there, which is a major limitation because we're talking about how AI can be useful in freelance health content writing, where medical accuracy is critically important. Another big limitation is the fact that there are blind spots in perspectives and points of view, and there is the possibility of bias as well. The reason for this is exactly the same. The language models that ChatGPT is trained on come from the internet. And again, as we know, all information on the internet is not unbiased. It is not free from implicit or explicit bias, discrimination, racism, etc. So it is possible that some outputs from ChatGPT can reflect the reality of what exists on the internet. That's also very important, given that as freelance health content writers, we're communicating with all types of people and are responsible for making sure that we are contributing to health equity through what we do and not detracting from it. And then another limitation from a very writing specific point of view is that ChatGPT, while one of the cool things about it is that it can put on different voices, if you will, different personalities, it's very difficult to replicate your own voice if your voice is not just like whatever ChatGPT's voice is. We're going to talk a little bit more about voice as we get into the latter parts of the video, but that's important because you want your writing to sound like you, or maybe if you are a freelance health content writer and you're a client that you're working for has a very strong brand voice or brand personality, you want that voice to sound like that brand. That voice can't sound like ChatGPT. That then takes away from the brand's credibility, etc. So those are three really important limitations that apply across the board, in addition to the things that we're going to discuss now. So let's dive into, I'm going to share 3 sets of ways that AI can be helpful to you as a new freelance health content writer and can hold you back or be harmful in some way to you as a new freelance health content writer. The first thing, one way that AI tools can help, is in their existence as supplemental tools, right? Any tool that we can use that helps us be better at what we are doing, be more efficient at what we are doing, better meet our clients' goals and objectives, that's going to be a useful tool to us. There are plenty of tools that you may or may not be aware of, depending on where you are in your journey. But there are plenty of tools that can be useful as supplements to us in health content writing. I'll give an example, right? Like when I create the headlines for my Health Writing Wednesday videos, I always run them through a tool called CoSchedule Headline Analyzer. It helps me figure out whether my headlines are attractive and interesting to people or whether I can improve them, right? That is a supplemental tool. It helps me do better. It helps me be better at my goal or my objective. What can be harmful is if you are using AI not as a supplement, but as a replacement. There's a difference between a tool that you are using to help or assist you in doing something versus a tool that you are attempting to use to completely replace your role in meeting that goal or that objective. And so if you are attempting to use AI or ChatGPT specifically in that way, that is going to be problematic. One of the reasons is because, there are probably ethical considerations that you need to think about. I say probably because widespread use of generative AI is so new that many organizations and agencies are still in the process of determining what those ethical limitations are. I know a lot of companies are developing their own guidances and recommendations on the use of AI. And so things may not quite be written in stone, but you do have to be mindful of how you are using these tools ethically, even though there may not be written and documented ethical guidelines and principles right now. So that's one thing to consider. The other reason why using AI as a replacement versus as a supplement can be harmful is because in order to become a successful freelance health content writer, really develop an area of expertise and be well known and respected in the industry, to have clients coming to you, to have clients trusting you and your work, you need to be a great communicator. And that doesn't mean you have to start off as one, but it does mean that you are working your way towards becoming a great communicator. That means you need to have a solid foundation in marketing, in writing, in communications. And when I say communications, it's not just the writing, it's not just the physically typing out words or putting pen to paper. It's also the strategy that underlines those communications. If you have started your progression towards freelance health content writing at all, or if you're someone who has taken, who has been a part of my accelerator, you know that most of the work in communications happens before you ever write a single word. It's about the background processes, thinking about your audience, thinking about their needs, their priorities, their behaviors, thinking about the messages they need to hear, all that good stuff. You have to have that strategic lens in order to work from and in order to recognize what good writing is, what good content is, what effective content is, etc. And if you're using AI as a replacement rather than a supplement, you are not actually developing the skills that you need in order to reach that end goal of becoming an effective communicator, because AI is your crutch, it's not a tool. So that is a critical method of differentiation of how you're using AI, whether you're using it as a supplement or whether you're using it as a replacement. This next set of helps and hurts, I should say, is related to the timing of when you begin to explore the use of AI in your freelance health content writing journey. One of the ways that AI can be helpful in this respect is if you incorporate the use of AI tools into your learning process. However, on the flip side, it can be harmful if you are prematurely focusing on AI before you have had a chance to develop the foundational knowledge and the skills that we just talked about. So the timing of like when you're building this into your learning process is actually really important, because if you start too early, then you risk stagnating stagnating your growth and your progress and your own development before you have the chance to build it on your own for yourself in your own brain. This is going to be closely tied to the next one, so I won't spend a lot of time here, but I do want to reiterate that you want to be focusing on your own development as a communicator, as a content writer, before you start to rely too heavily on AI to supplement that. AI is a great supplement, but if you start too early, then you're more likely to make the first mistake we talked about, which is using AI as a replacement rather than a supplement. Because in order to use AI as a supplement, you have to have your own foundational skills and knowledge for it to supplement. If you don't, then AI is acting as a replacement. It's not acting as a supplement. The last set of helps and hurts that I'm going to talk about, which is again related to the previous one of the ways that AI can be a really useful tool is that it can help stimulate a lot of things. It can help stimulate ideas, concepts, thought processes. It can help address like writer's block. So if you're looking at a blank page and you're like, I just do not know how to start, AI can help stimulate ideas so that you can get going. The challenge, the flip side, the potential harm in that is that if you do not already have a foundation in writing and communications, using AI in that way can be a bit stifling. It can stifle your process of being able to generate ideas on your own, leaning into your own expertise as a healthcare provider, it can stifle the process of finding your own voice and your confidence in your own voice and that expertise, because it's just you're using AI to do it, right? You don't have to like dig deep in your own brain to find these things and to pull them out. If you're using AI, if you're getting it from AI, ChatGPT specifically, constantly, consistently. One of the ways that this also hurts is because as a healthcare provider, your expertise, your experience, your background contributes to your advantages in the health content writing space, right? That helps set you apart from writers who may not have that same background as you. If, however, you are not bringing in to your writing process any of those elements from your experience, from your background, from your expertise, and you're only pulling from AI to provide insight, then that differentiation, that advantage isn't really an advantage anymore. It's still a characteristic, it's still a part of who you are. But if the evidence of your professional background and who you are and what you do is not evident in what you are creating, then how is it really setting you apart? How is it really acting as an advantage for you? It's not. So, in order to avoid these mistakes, what's helpful is first learning how to generate ideas on your own, learning how to identify your own voice and how to write in that voice on your own without ChatGPT or AI, learning how to pull from your own expertise and your own experience to create deliverables, whether it's a blog post, an article, a white paper, whatever it is you're writing. Leaning on yourself and your own knowledge and skills is how you gain skills in writing and communications, and how you gain confidence in your skill in writing and communication. Again, this is how this loops back to the previous thing. If you're using AI as a replacement and not a supplement, then you're never going to gain confidence in your own ability to create. I was recently in Washington, D.C. for a conference, and my best friend came with me to an event, and we were talking about backup cameras. And I was saying to her, but we were probably both saying to each other that it's really weird to get into a car these days that doesn't have a backup camera, because you just feel like you're about to hit everything, right? You're about to back up into trees, curbs. I'm like, is there a person back there? I have no way of knowing. I didn't have a backup camera in my car until 2020. So this is a recent development for me. But now I'm like, I don't really love having to back up in a car without a backup camera, because I'm used to using that backup camera. Now, the backup camera still technically is a supplement, because, ideally we're still using our mirrors, right? Our rear view, our side mirrors. However, it's almost a replacement. Like, it's almost a full replacement. And because of that, when we don't have that tool, it's hard to pull from those existing skill sets, even though there were years and years, like decades, of relying solely on that skill set to do this thing. And so I kind of think of AI like this backup camera. You want to learn how to back up the car on your own without needing to use the camera, so that you can say, this is a set of skills that I have. And if I'm ever in a situation where I don't have this backup camera, or if I need to do things with my human eyes that this backup camera cannot do, I need to be able to tap into that. It's the same thing with writing and communications. AI is only going to increase in its presence in our lives and in our professions. So it's not something that we can or should run from, but we do have to be very cautious about and cognizant of how we are incorporating AI into the learning process. Because if the only reason you are a good communicator or a good content writer is because you use ChatGPT, you're not actually a good communicator or a good content writer. And those skills are not going to translate to other settings. So this is not to turn you away from exploring AI, but it is to kind of caution you against prematurely becoming too invested in the tool before you have an opportunity to become a good writer and a good communicator on your own. And I say this because I've seen a lot of courses start to pop up. Some of them are affiliated with professional associations, and some of them are just created by folks who are in the field. I've seen a lot of courses start to pop up that are about AI and medical writing specifically. And this is not a commentary directly on them because I haven't taken any of them, so I can't speak confidently to the quality. But a high level general commentary, because I'm seeing those popping up, I thought it was really important to have this conversation, because for those of you who are very new to the field, i.e., you have not started yet, but you're interested, or maybe you've started, but you've only been in it for, 7 months. I wanna caution you against going too deep into the AI world before you have a chance to learn how to back up the car on your own. And that's what I'll say on that. And this might be a natural next question, so I'll answer it. In health professionals to health writers, the last cohort, so the January cohort, was the first cohort where I started to incorporate AI learning and knowledge. And I didn't do that until after those students had completed the full program, had written their portfolios, had done everything they needed to do, when I could trust that they had a solid background, solid 6-month background in health content writing. And then we started to talk about the tools, how to use them, how it can be helpful, how it can be useful from a writing perspective, from a business perspective, etc. I kind of thought of it like, I didn't have the backup camera analogy at that time, but I thought about it like math, right? How in high school, I don't know how it is now, they could probably use calculators, but like we couldn't use calculators. We had to do the math by hand because they wanted to know that we knew the processes, and could get to the answer without the use of the calculator. And so I kind of think of this in that way as well. So again, if you're interested in future cohorts of health professionals, health writers, feel free to comment waitlist. The next cohort will not be starting until January, so there is some time. However, enrollment for the January cohort opens soon, and it always opens to those on the waitlist first. So comment waitlist if you're interested. And I